Welcome to the number one podcast covering Michigan State basketball. The Final Four is not on the schedule. Join Rod and me, Eric, as we dive deep into the Spartans to get you prepared for every game. Subscribe today for in-depth recruiting updates and fantastic interviews with today's important college basketball personalities like Robbie Hummel.
Thanks for having me. I have listened to your guys' podcast numerous times on drives throughout any Midwestern Big Ten city. So I am big fans of your guys' work.
Jay Billis.
And next time, hey, if anybody in Michigan wants a December tea time, call me. You wimps won't show up, but I'll be there. I'll be there and play in the cold. And Izzo will be in front of the fire with hot chocolate.
Coaches Thomas Kelly.
No problem. Glad to be back, man. Glad to be back.
Mike Garland.
Just can't sit there and trade twos for threes. You can't do it. You're gonna lose. Coming down the stretch, you're gonna lose.
And more. You won't find better coverage of Spartan hoops than you will get here. For both the casual and hardcore fan, come along as we take you for a green and white ride. Hey everybody, it's Eric alongside Rod, here to talk about MSU's disappointing Big Ten opener against the Wisconsin Badgers, losing 70-57 in a script that's becoming a little too familiar with this team in the early season. I was not able to attend tonight's game because of our benefit concert. The evening performance was truly breathtaking. However, Michigan State's performance was anything but. I'm actually not too upset that I wasn't able to go to the game. Before we talk the game, I just want to add that watching the game at Peacock was super annoying. Usually I can fast forward through the recording, catch up, but the app forces you to watch all the ads, which was a lot. And I mean, I did watch, I think, 3 segments of ads before I even got to the game because of all this analysis they had. Anyway, let's discuss the game. I'll just begin by mentioning the obvious. Another really slow, uninspired start, giving up easy looks to Kroll, and then stagnant offense in the half court. And I mean, virtually every aspect of the keys to the game were fails. But, well, just go through, your general impression, Rod.
Rather than focusing too terribly much on the minutia of this game, which, we can go over to some degree, but what's troubling to me is we're this deep in. We're now 8 games into the season for Michigan State.
Yeah.
And you have a veteran team that has been through it. They've seen hard times. They've had great wins. All those guys have been part of all this stuff. The learning is supposed to have happened.
Yep.
That's why there was so much optimism around this group coming into the season. Is you look at the way last year ended, almost everybody back, and you just thought, okay, this group is finally ready to have its moment, and they are so far from being a good team right now that it's not even worth. I mean, they're just not. They're just not a good team. Yeah. But the biggest indictment to me is that you have a veteran group that has gone out there repeatedly this season and allowed the fight to be taken to them. And that, make no mistake, that's what happened tonight. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin came into that building and punked them. They did it on the boards, which we talked about. Mm-hmm. I think they did it defensively. I think the 50-50 balls all seemed to go their way. I mean, look, there were periods where Michigan State did some good things, and I'll have one particular critique for the coaching staff in the second half that I think ultimately put the game away for Wisconsin. But all that aside, this primarily, more than anything else, this was about one team coming in and playing a lot harder, a lot smarter, and a lot tougher. You could talk about the shooting, and yes, they had an edge there. There were some things that they did, but really, it comes down to that. And my concern is we're this deep into the season and we're still talking about this.
Yeah.
We're still talking about bad starts where the opening tip goes up and Michigan State looks like it's playing in quicksand.
Yeah.
And it happens over and over and over. I have no idea why this team is playing as slowly as they are. This runs counter to everything I thought they were going to do, everything Izzo talked about. They are playing very slowly. It does not benefit them to play this slowly with this group of players. I can tell you that much. But the biggest thing to me, as I say, is the inability to respond when an opponent comes out and starts shoving it down your throat. That's more disturbing to me than 100 missed threes. It's that, because that's the thing that you just count on with Michigan State basketball, and we are not seeing it. And if we're not seeing it by now, I'm not sure what's going to change.
Yeah.
That's the really disappointing part. I look at this and I don't know. I don't see that guy. I don't see that. I think there are guys. I think Jeremy Fears can be a leader, but he isn't going to be a leader
Not
this
as a
year.
freshman, no. Not in this team.
No. He's not Magic.
No.
Pretty rare that you have a freshman come in and be the kind of leader a team like this needs. And the veterans right now, I mean, come on. This is what in the world has happened to Jaden Akins?
That's the hardest one for me to explain. I don't know.
Yeah, he's barely existing. AJ, he did some good things in that run in the second half, but then again, you could almost say the worst thing in the world for him is that he hit a couple jump shots.
Right.
Because then he falls in love with it, and that's not his game. Robbie Hummel kept calling it out. He was absolutely right. AJ Hoggard, once again, did just enough good things to get you beat. In other words, because the good things led to him making poor decisions later when it mattered. And it wasn't all on him tonight. There was a lot of responsibility to be had. But I don't know. I don't know where they go. It's the only positive, the only one that I could see right now is it's still early December.
Yeah. Right.
And so there's theoretically, there is time for this coaching staff to figure it out and reach these guys, but I'm not encouraged. They had 6 days to prepare for this game, and they come out with an effort like that. It's embarrassing. It should be embarrassing. By Michigan State standards, that was an embarrassing performance.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, we're, a quarter of the way through the season. We're 8 games in, probably 32 or so games in the season before the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
So you got to be close to that. And yeah, at some point you are what you are, as you mentioned. There's still time to get things fixed. But boy, in some ways you're like, if you're a veteran club, can you really change that much from what you are? And this is, I guess, the thing that, we probably discounted a little bit coming back from last year, is that this team, largely the same team as last year. And this is kind of what they were last year, that they were up and down. They would look good for a while. I'm going to disagree with that in this sense. Last year's team, I think a lot of the inconsistency was due to health. Okay, sure.
They looked very good early on when they were healthy, and then the injuries started hitting, and it took them a long time to come out of that. So there's been the worst they looked last season was not like this.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to go back right now, the way they've played the first 8 games, you got to go back to the COVID year to find them playing this poorly. And you know what? Here's the problem. The problem is the Big Ten is unlikely to be loaded with as many top 10 teams as it was that year. So you don't have the opportunities I don't think you can go 10-10 just making sure that you win the right 3 or 4 games.
Right.
And earn a bid. I mean, I know it's early, but seriously, this team, and I never say this stuff, but they don't look like a tournament team right now. To me, they don't look like a team that'll be on the plus side of 500 in the league right now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That was an uncompetitive effort, bottom line. And look, if they came out and just played with their hair on fire and kept throwing up bricks from 3 and lose the game, fine. I think you can live with that. But that's not what's going on. They're not doing enough of the skill stuff well, but they're also getting punked on the effort stuff. Yeah. And that's the troubling part. So I don't have any idea how to explain it. I really don't, because as I say, I don't think this is what they were last year. This is far worse than what they were last year.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words, obviously, because let's talk about. We'll just kind of move through our usual post game. Maybe we'll come across more nuggets here, but we'll begin with the Brothers Just You Gutters. The player that Michigan State needs to keep in the gutter was Tyler Wall, and I guess statistically only 8 points, 8 rebounds though, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, a block shot. He was 2 for 2 in the line, 3-7 on the floor, but he made enough little plays at times that kept Wisconsin game. But I mean, obviously, Kroll and Storr just destroyed Michigan State. So I don't know.
Yeah, but man, at winning time,
he'd hit the shot when they needed it.
They didn't handle him at all. He killed him. They didn't deal with him at all. The first half he got taken out due to foul trouble, so he just didn't play. That's why his numbers are where they are. If he'd played normal minutes, he would have put up big numbers. Trust me, you could see it. And I don't look. I'm giving Malik a half pass on this one because we can assume that he's not fully feeling himself. So that was always going to be a problem. But down the stretch, man, they didn't have an answer. Tyler Wall just killed them on the glass.
Yeah.
And, and I feel for Cohen Carr. Cohen Carr is trying to guard him, and that's just not going to go well. He's not ready to guard somebody like Tyler Wall. So they really needed Malik. They didn't fully have him in this one, and Wall took advantage when the game was there to be won or lost.
Yeah, so again, a reminder, if you need gutter work, the Brothers at Just You Gutters are a great option. They can take care of your residential or commercial properties. They do fantastic work cleaning them out, so you don't have to worry about all those leaves or all the junk in your gutter. Also, they can repair them, replace them, whatever you need done at any sort of weather for the most part. They will get the job done, and they do a great job and are very affordable as well. So you can check out their contact information in the podcast player below, or you can go to the website. The episode, you should be able to find it there. That's on the west side of the state with Kurt and his team in the Grand Rapids metro area, and then the Metro Detroit area with Greg and his team. So I guess we can talk about let's just go through the keys of the game, I suppose. Brought to you by Nudge Printing. Nudge Printing, we get great collegiate apparel, Michigan State apparel, 20% off if you order, and still can get your stuff in for Christmas if you want. And it's, again, great stuff. They just dropped some new product lines, and so check them out at Nudge Printing. It's Final Four is the coupon code at checkout for 20% off, and you won't regret it. Great screen printed materials and hoodies and t-shirts and everything. So speaking of the 5 keys of the game, boards, I mean, I don't know, this could have gone any worse. Offensive rebounding, Wisconsin, 39% offensive rebounding rate. Michigan State, a paltry 18%. Yeah. They were out-rebounded 36-22 at home. I mean, destroyed is probably not even the right word in some ways.
And a lot of it came late.
Yeah.
When the game was still there to be won and lost, Wisconsin just multiple scoring chance after multiple scoring chance. They held Kroll to just one, but Wall had 3 in only 22 minutes. Chucky Hepburn gets 2 late. That's the stuff that, seriously, Tom Izzo should have that on a loop the 2 offensive rebounds that Chucky Hepburn got, because they both happened. They weren't, if I remember correctly, definitely one, and I think both. They weren't, 3-point shots that kicked out long and he gets them. He was under the rim. It should never happen. Should never, ever happen. He should have it on loop, and those guys should be embarrassed that they let that happen to them. Just disgraceful effort. Disgraceful effort.
That just speaks to your effort point. And then, Chucky Hepburn, wow, I mean, what a game. I mean, only 5 points, but he 8 assists and 1 turnover. He was really good at his point guard. Second is Malik. I think we kind of saw, he definitely was a less than Malik. Not exactly an injured guy, but he definitely didn't seem quite, I don't know, energy level. It's hard to know, right? It's interesting because, because the last 2 meetings, again, I'm pretty sure that Tyler Wall wasn't there when Michigan State played him the last 2 years. And this year, I mean, I guess, Malik played 20 some minutes, right? 23 minutes, but he just didn't seem quite all there and able to sort of keep up.
No more to say.
And then we come to the third key to the game, which maybe should have been the first key. I don't know, the start. And this is, the old saying, what is it? If you keep digging a hole, eventually you're going to end up in the hole and you're not going to be able to get out. And that's what happened, right? They got down to 3, but climbing the mountain every game is hard. And it's especially Michigan State struggling as much as they are.
That's absolutely true. And you can chalk it up to that. And I won't argue. The hole they dug, when you got to dig all the way back and you get it to 3 and then you run out of gas. But I will tell you this. I'm taking issue with the coaching staff on that situation. And here's the reason. They cut it to 3, and not only did they cut it to 3, I'd have to go back, check the transcript, which I'm not going to do, to see how many possessions they had where they had the ball down
like
3, but it was multiple.
3 or 4,
yeah. Multiple, because for a while at least, they were getting stops.
Mm-hmm.
They had gotten to 3 because Tyson Walker got on fire. And started giving them the kind of scoring that they had lacked the entire game. We talked about it. He's the one big positive offensively, that he's a guy who can just go out and get you points more or less on his own. They pulled him. And I understand you got to get guys rest. I get it. But this is a Big Ten game where you're trying to climb the mountain after you've dug yourself into the valley. And not only did they sit him too long, but then they try to get him back in. They have him at the scorer's table. And this is something that I think about a lot. I don't verbalize here very often, but I'm going to tonight. Because it really burned me watching this game. They again, I'd have to check the transcript to see exactly how much time, but I'm going to say close to 2 minutes of game time. Tyson Walker was at the scorer's table and couldn't get in because there wasn't a stoppage in play. You can't do that. Eventually, by the time he gets back on the floor, I believe it was a 9-point deficit because Wisconsin finally started scoring. Here's the thing. Tom Izzo's philosophy has always been that he wants to hoard his timeouts. He wants to have all his timeouts, as many as he can have, for end-of-game situations. In theory, I understand that. It makes sense in a certain way, but here's the thing. In that game situation, at least to me, it was screamingly obvious that Tyson Walker was the only hope they had for getting consistent offense at that point in the game, because AJ's little mini hot streak clearly had gone by the boards by that point. And there, Malik's not Malik. Jaden Akins, I don't know where he is. They didn't have anything else. Statistically, you are doing yourself far more damage, in my opinion, by not utilizing a timeout to get your best scorer back in the game and get the benefit of him on the floor for whatever extra amount of time, let's say it was a minute and a half, 2 minutes. If it's 2 minutes, that's a minimum of 2 possessions. It's probably 3 or 4.
Right. Yeah.
Offensively. Versus hoarding a timeout for an end game situation that may or may not even be relevant. And in this case, it wasn't. Right. I'm not saying that's the biggest factor in this loss. It's not. There were all these other things. But that sealed it, in my opinion. They didn't recover from that. They needed Tyson Walker on the floor to complete that comeback, get a lead, hopefully, and then see if they could ride it out. But they never got that chance because he was on the bench. You cannot take the one guy who's got a chance to do some things offensively for you out of the game for that long a period of time and think you're going to ride it out. Not with what Michigan State has been offensively this year. Be a different story if Jaden Akins was the Jaden Akins we thought we'd see. If A.J. Hoggard was the A.J. Hoggard we thought we'd see. If Malik Hall was healthy. If all those things were true, okay, fine. And that's normally what Michigan State has. Normally Michigan State's got multiple. Not this year. Not so far. You got one guy.
Yeah.
Got to play him. Period. End of story. No excuse for it. That's a coaching decision that hurts you. My opinion.
Yeah. Well, if this kind of leads to my, question, and you had alluded to it earlier too, when it comes to running. I mean, this is a team that is living in the half court, and it is not a strength. It just is like Walker, and you've got Sissoko setting screen. You don't have really many options. You've only got outside options, and honestly, the outside options are not good right now. No one's hitting shots that are open, even when they. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know it's hard to manufacture transition, but it doesn't. It's at least early this season we saw them put full court pressure, or at least ball pressure at times.
Yeah,
and they just
the man.
I don't know.
The man pressure and high line ball pressure, we're only seeing occasionally.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I mean, he's got the bodies, right? That was the whole point.
I don't have it. Well,
supposedly.
That's what they claimed.
Yeah.
That's what they claimed. But yeah, they can't. This team is not built to be effective playing slow-paced basketball. That much I've seen enough of to believe.
Yeah, well,
if you got a post threat and you got guards that can hit open shots, okay. They don't have those things right now. They may never have them this year. So you better figure it out some other way.
Yeah, I think at some point you have to envision it just a different way to be successful. And I mean, I trust that they're going to look at this, and I mean, at some point you just got to accept who you are, and that gets to the next point. The key to the game is gangs that couldn't shoot straight, and Wisconsin, if they figured it out, they started shooting straight, and they, partly led by Stephen Kroll. I mean, boy, he was they were 10 for 23 from 3, which is really good, and then Michigan State still not very good. I mean, I think ending up 31%, but abysmal in the first half, 1 for 7. Akins 0 for 2, Holloman 1 for 4. Hall misses 1 shot. AJ hit a couple. Tyson hit 3, but I don't know. I mean, this is
well. Look, they were 5 for 12 in the second half. So in the second half, they did a good enough job to get back in the game.
Sure.
And it was actually better than 5 for 12. They missed a couple late when they were in garbage time. For most of the second half, it was better than that. But, I said, if either of these teams figures it out and starts hitting shots, that could be a huge edge. Well, it was a huge edge.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, I mean, the big one was not Kroll, because Kroll has been hitting shots. It's A.J. Storr who had not been going 4 for 6.
Right.
That's what killed him.
Yeah, and I still can't understand Akins. I don't know if it's him trying to be who he's not. And I don't know. I mean, is he, I don't know.
That would be one thing. No, that would be one thing, because then you could say, well, he's trying to do too much himself. That's not happening. He's doing nothing. He had 2 points tonight, 21 minutes.
Yeah.
2. I don't know what's going on. This is a guy I thought could be all Big Ten this year. And he is so out of sync that, you really did. You saw Trey Holloman playing instead of him. And I couldn't argue with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, the fifth key to the game, AJ, and I think we kind of talked about that. Just enough AJ to think, well, it's there, but not enough to actually be enough.
The stat line is not terrible.
Yeah.
He had 14 points, 7 assists, 2 turnovers, had a steal, 4 rebounds, 5 for 10 from the floor, 2 for 5 from 3. The stat line looks okay, but as I said, he did just enough to lose it, and that doesn't mean he lost the game himself. But when they had Tyson sitting out, AJ was on the floor. That would be the guy that you would think you would play through. And what that should mean is AJ's trying to play downhill.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. Instead, he was settling for jumpers. And that's when it was the same thing we saw against Arizona.
Well, I mean, I think, the story is 2 free throws, right? And you look at the team had 7 free throws in the game.
Yep.
Against a team, well, Wisconsin, 14 for 14, which is impressive. But the thing we talked about pregame is this is a team, Wisconsin, that actually fouls quite a bit, more than usual. And this is
more than usual.
So this is
but MSU did not apply sufficient pressure on the rim to earn more free throws than that. Bottom line.
Yeah, this is really a tough game to talk about, because there's so many problems with that. It's almost like overwhelming as far as, what issues.
Yeah, there's not a lot of reason for hope.
Right. I mean, you can look and say, well, they only turned the ball over 8 times, but you miss so many shots. I mean, there were so many like air balls and bad shots, even from like mid-range 10 feet out and stuff. It was surprising, but maybe Kohler comes back, that will help a little bit. Maybe they just need it. I don't know. I keep thinking maybe they just need a stinker to kind of get figured out, but I don't know.
I don't think Jackson Kohler solves.
Yeah,
this.
no, I tend to think so.
I think that's not real. The bottom line is the same as it was coming into the season. They are going to go as far as their guards can take them. And right now, they've got one guy who's playing at a high level.
Yeah.
Hogard seems like he's kind of figuring it out, but not fully. And then the third guy is MIA. Until that changes, none of this is going to matter.
Yeah, well, I think you're probably right. Well, hopefully they can start figuring things out, and get things turned around. And I think I don't know. I guess we'll just kind of leave it there. We're going to come back with the Nebraska preview, and hopefully when Michigan State heads to Lincoln, they can figure some stuff out. Because I mean, watching this game, I sit there thinking, I don't know who they can beat. I mean, there are these times when during the season, sometimes when Michigan State just looks broken, and this looks like a time when they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly maybe they figure it out, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess they look pretty good. That's my hope, that we sort of get past this broken, non-fluid, herky-jerky sort of half-court inability to do anything, and then they just sort of get things going. But until we see it, I guess we haven't seen it. I guess we'll leave it there. I again remind you to check out our really awesome sponsors, the Brothers That Just Do Gutters, brothersgutters.com. Also, Nudge Printing at nudgeprinting.com. If you want to support the show, we really appreciate it. You can head out on over to our website, thefinalfoursontheschedule.com, or if you're lazy, tffinots.com/support. You can find ways to support the show that way, and we really appreciate that, again, to help keep the lights on. And also, a little thanks, Rahad, just to the fact that you're just soldiering through with this cold. And it's always that annoying part where your voice kind of gives out and stuff. So I appreciate you trying to hang in there, and especially after a really rough game like this. So until next time, the Final Four is on the schedule. Go Green.